Hi, everyone. I'm Laurel. My pronouns are she, her. I'm calling from Tongva land, also known as Los Angeles. I'm a Southeast Asian woman with long dark hair and a blue top. I'm the climate impact producer at Yeah Impact, currently working on the campaigns for the films I Am Greta and Youth versus Gov. I'm also the assistant producer on two of the workshops in this summit. I'm so glad that I get to moderate Lena's Q&A because as a recent college graduate, I know film students have attempted to make their film sets more sustainable, but definitely ran into some obstacles. So I'm excited to hear about what has worked for you, Lena. Thank you again for being here with us. And for the attendees, please take a moment to respond to the poll in the bar on your right. Please use this time to ask Lena questions by typing the questions in the Q&A section in the column on your right. Please make sure that you're typing the questions in the session Q&A and not typing it into the event Q&A because that one will go to everyone. You can make sure you have the session selected by looking in the top right. I will offer you to unmute and ask the question yourself. If you would like to remain unmuted or remain muted, just type chat only after your question. So I'll give people some time to think about what they want to ask you. So I'll start off with a question. What have been your major wins in your career?
Oh, major wins. I mean, just kind of the way it's accelerated so quickly has just been really phenomenal. I feel like I've come a long way in a very short time in this space because it is kind of a space where the opportunities are growing as studios start adopting sustainability departments into their productions, as studios start mandating it into their inner workings. So in that way, it's been a great win. I celebrate the small victories in this world. It's really important in what I do that that you can't expect too much because, like we said, it's very hard to get people to change, and we do a lot of the things we do in baby steps. Some big victories. I really love when I have a talent on my show, actors, actresses reaching out to me and asking how they can help and how they can be of service. That is always great for engagement and messaging. I would also say, now working with Netflix, we have the great privilege of working for a studio that endorses change and is encouraging it to happen very quickly. So we have the opportunities to really try some aggressive tactics as far as using new technologies and equipment that's going to help us reach our goals that are very lofty. In addition to that, I would say, just being able at the end of a production to look at all the data and really find the little pockets where you can tell that something really did make a big impact, whether that be the amount of hybrid vehicles within the crew, and soon to be electric vehicles once that becomes a little bit more consistent. Also just, when I'm done with each project, I put all my data into a big program we call the pair in the industry, and it spits out all these kind of calculations that really show how many plastic water bottles we avoided, how many gallons of gasoline we avoided, how many pounds of food we were able to compost in order to spare X amount of methane. So I really like getting that feedback coming back to me of just like what we've done and how that has affected the world at large. So I guess that is also a moment of victory at the very end, not only completing the project and having it air, but also having those kind of statistics to say, like all the work I did was not for nothing. This is what we achieved.
Yeah, that's so awesome that you're able to quantify the impact that you've made. I know that you mentioned Netflix's sustainability goals. Can you go more into that and kind of tell us the specifics of what changes are being made on film sets?
Yeah, for sure. So Netflix has announced recently their Net Zero Plus Nature program. So a lot of studios are doing the net zero approach, which means kind of removing as much carbon from the atmosphere as we are putting out into the atmosphere. They have implemented not only ways to reduce the carbon going out into the atmosphere, but also investing in projects that are pulling it from the atmosphere. And then they have kind of a larger goal to reduce emissions by 2030 by 45%, which, I mean, it doesn't sound huge, but then when you consider that we will be probably likely be making twice as much content, you know, it almost, not directly, but essentially it's like you're reducing fuel by 90%, really. So I'm going to put a link to that information that is out in the world for anyone to read more about. But we are, you know, it's one of the more aggressive goals from any of the studios that I've worked with or heard of in order to get the ball rolling. And as a leader in the industry that Netflix, I think, universally is considered, it's a good lead to take so that other streaming services and studios can follow suit.
That's so awesome. I'm so excited for that. And then we have a question. What is the best way for someone with no sustainability background to transition into the field?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, I think it's best. I really think that the path I took really helped me a lot, just working as a standard PA on set. That role is actually harder than you would think to land to begin with. But it really prepares you for like just landing on set and like knowing what to do and knowing who to talk to and what to expect. So I got my first PA role. Actually, I went on a date and the guy said, "Oh, well, I know a friend who's hiring PAs. Like, I'll recommend you." And I got my first job that way. But you know, if you're a student, you can get internships and so forth. And once you got the on-set experience and have your sea legs, if you will, being on set, then you can start going out for the sustainability PA jobs, which are a little bit more self-driven. You have to have a little bit more agency. PA, you kind of follow what someone tells you to do. A sustainability PA or steward is kind of running their own operation. And that way it's really great because you have kind of that freedom to create your own way of doing things. But it also can be scary because if you don't know, even if you know everything about sustainability, you might not know about production, and vice versa. If you know a lot about production, I would say the best way to get ready for a sustainability PA job would be Green Spark Group has a online course called The Spark. And I think that that's a good start just to get a general understanding of sustainability under your belt. So I would recommend that. I can put a link to that in the chat. So I would say that's a great way. And you really need that boots on the ground sustainability PA job in order to kind of get to where I am, because I can't imagine anyone in the production world coming into what I do and understanding it without that experience of seeing what we're really up against when you're on set. I think people have like a great like feeling of like, oh, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. But there are so many little things about how production is run that can really throw wrenches in your plan. So you really have to strategize and know a lot about like the psychology of people and how people interact with each other. So I think sustainability PA roles are becoming more common. You can follow Green Spark Group on social media in order to hear about them. You can follow Earth Angel on social media to hear about them. I think that's really the only way you can hear about those jobs, really. I don't know how else you can find a sustainability PJ. I found mine on like Craigslist or something. My first sustainability PA.
I was going to say, I was actually looking into being an eco PA. I know that Disney hires, like, I think it's called Oh, are you still there, Lena?
I'm still there.
Okay, your screen went off for me, but I know that Disney hires like eco PAs or like environmental stewards, but I had only heard about it because I had a friend that was already working there, and he said he only got it from another friend. Like everyone got it because they knew someone.
Yeah, I know. I was really lucky to have found that random listing, and now the two women who hired me for that job, by the way, I didn't get the job, the first eco PA job I went out for, but now the two women who interview me are like my colleagues now. Like we're cool. We're going to the Eco Bash this weekend together. So it is a quite little tight knit community, and maybe that's why the word doesn't get out too far. But yeah, there's tons of these jobs coming up. I mean, not as many as like COVID department jobs are like blowing up. You can find those everywhere. But certainly the jobs are out there. You just have to follow the right, I guess, accounts on. That's the only way I can think to find them.
Okay, that's awesome advice. Thank you. And then it looks like Kyle has a question, so I will bring him on to ask you.
Hi, Kyle.
Hi. Thank you so much for coming in and talking to us. My name is Kyle. I use he, him. I'm calling from Tatavium Land, north of Los Angeles. So I want to ask, I work in film and I want to push for sustainability in my work, but I don't necessarily know much about the scientific side, about what specific actions are the most impactful. So I'd love to hear, especially sustainability was never mentioned in film school. It's not mentioned a lot in the sets I've been on. So I'd love to hear what sort of the average production assistant can do to learn what types of actions are the most effective at making a set sustainable.
That's a great question. I mean, most of our emissions are coming from fuel and energy, and within that, a lot comes from air travel, which, you know, a normal person on set does not have much say in. You might get as far as like requesting a hybrid vehicle, for example, for your car, for a production rental. So that would be one way. I know it's not like a huge impact, but I think it's a step in the right direction. But I bring my reusable utensils every day to set, and I not only don't use any plastic or disposable utensils on set, but I also get a lot of questions about them. And it's a conversation starter where people are like, where did you get that? Like, why are you doing that? And I think that that's a good way to influence other people to also kind of create a group effort there. I bring my own little coffee cup, my water bottle, all of that. I have a whole artillery. So that's another way. You know, I think that you, as somebody working within a department, you never want to overstep your boundaries. The departments are very like closed off. So it's really hard sometimes to feel like you have permission to do certain things. But I love hanging like impact signage when it's feasible and when it feels appropriate, hanging something that says, did you know that using the coffee maker instead of using your K-cup maker will spare, this much plastic waste. Just really putting those facts out there, because as people are sitting there waiting for their K-cup to brew, maybe they'll enjoy reading and learning a little bit about what the impact of that is. So, I really think that influencing those little tiny behaviors is all you can really do at this point. And then educating others when it's appropriate and when it doesn't feel like you're, overstepping your boundaries. I'm putting in the chat here the SPA report coming from the Green Production Guide that it does a great job of outlining what the total impact of a given production is, and then what portions of that are owed to which departments, so that you can kind of figure that out. And different departments will have different roles in that. Always renting and reusing things from somebody's kit is better than buying new. So it really depends on what department you're in, for what your biggest impact will be on the production. Also, if you can get in with the talent, giving them a green rider is probably the hugest thing. If they fill out a green rider that is on the EMA website and it says, I want a solar powered trailer, I want a fuel efficient vehicle, I want all these demands from the talent that will trickle down to the rest of the crew. I think that is also a really important tool that is underutilized for sure.
Yeah, that's great. I don't want to overstep, but I have a quick follow-up question of, do you think, for example, I want to end up being a writer or a director? Do you think those kinds of people can also utilize green writers, or is it most of the talent that has that kind of pull?
I think as it is right now, I think it has to be like A-list talent, really, because they aren't going to that's the danger, is like they aren't going to hire you if you're making these demands, right? So it has to be somebody who is like very highly sought after, who the project just won't be the same without them, kind of deal. So in that way, it's really hard. But, as a writer, I think it, like Ali was saying, incorporating it into your dialogue and into your, description of the set it can never hurt, because it is, most of the people I talk to in my crew are the people who make things happen. And they say, unless the creative writes it into the script, we're not doing it, period, because it's just not our place. So, it does really all start from there. So as a writer, I think you can have a huge influence, even without a green writer or without notoriety, anything like that, just slipping those little things in there, So.
Great. Thank you so much.
And then we have a question in the Q&A feature. Do you think advocacy from the ground, parentheses, PA level up, versus policy/mandate down will be more relevant?
I think from the top down is going to be the most efficient way of doing it, but it's probably the most unlikely. So, and another point that was made in it is like the inequality of people is directly related to the climate crisis, and that the biggest contributors are a little bit detached from what's happening and maybe a little bit removed from the reality of it all. So it's hard unless a producer takes it upon themselves to really make it their passion project. It's hard to get the buy-in from the top that you need. So I think it does need all the pushing and prodding from the bottom in order for it to happen. So, that's joining CAN would be a good first start for somebody who's trying to work from the bottom. that's the Climate Ambassadors Network that Ali shared in the presentation. That would be really a good way to get feedback from maybe like mid-level people like me on how you can best use your position, your small amount of authority, big amount of authority, however it is, to have changes made and to save the production money. That's really the only thing holding the production back from embracing it fully is the perceived costs, and they don't all have to be costing money. Some of them can be saving money for sure.
I have a question that's like kind of different from sustainability in production, but I know you mentioned that you first started out wanting to be a writer and that you wanted to return to that. Were you planning on writing climate stories, or was there anything else that you were planning on writing?
At first I was not planning on writing climate stories, but now where my path has taken me, I certainly want to make sure that I'm doing my due diligence, having those realities reflected in my writing. I want to make sure that we acknowledge that it's a reality. It's something that is actually happening around us. So if we're writing a script that is based in reality, of course, this all should be part of it. And I've seen this done really well in a lot of cases. My favorite is from Big Little Lies, where the mother or the daughter of one of the mothers is having climate anxiety and is, hospitalized because she's having panic attacks about, what is happening in the environment. And the mother is one of these people who's very detached from the reality and more concerned with her, life as it stood before this anxiety occurred. And she's, really frustrated by that they're teaching climate literacy in schools. So it just shows a great dynamic between those the generational gap from the people of privilege and those who don't have privilege, from people who are becoming aware and people who are not becoming aware. It's really a great way to show that, this is what's happening in our world and there's this great divide, and we need that to come together. So I think that a compelling story can really change how people see things and do things. Another great example is back in the 80s, they did a campaign. Psychologists worked with TV writers to integrate the term designated driver into television programs. And there was such a steep fall in the rates of drunk driving accidents after that whole, that they integrated into Cheers, I think. And I think Friends did the same with like cigarette smoking, making it like not appealing anymore. And there was like a considerable drop in smokers. And so, yeah, people are easily influenced. You just got to do it in the right way. That's not preachy or overreaching, I think.
Wow, that is so cool. I never heard of that, about the designated driver thing. So that's so like awesome to know that they're like actual results. So we're going to wrap in 5 minutes, but I had a question about how you make your career work financially, like balancing being able to sustain yourself and make a living while also doing what you care about.
Oh yeah, that's really, really hard. One thing I really would like to fight for is for union, like our sustainability workers to go into a union or have their own union. Preferably, I would like to see it absorbed into the PGA because I have made a lot of sacrifices in my life in order to do this work. I lived below the line of poverty for several years, working as a PA. And then generally in a career field, after you serve your dues as a PA, you then go to a coordinator and get a raise, you go to supervisor, get a raise, blah, blah, blah. However, because we're not unionized, you work as a PA to be a sustainability PA and make the same thing. And then when you graduate from a sustainability PA, if there is a job available that's above a sustainability PA, it's not going to pay very well either, because it's not a union job. And so I have found that I have prioritized my passions over my future in many ways. And I hope that things will get better, but that is really my pet project right now, especially with how IATSE right now is going on strike, because of they're fighting for their workers in their unions. No one's fighting for us as sustainability workers, and it's not a sustainable job. I can't ethically recommend that some of my PAs remain PAs with me on my next project, because you're not going to be making a living wage, and it's completely frustrating, because those people are going to go into the props department, they're going to go into the crafty department, they're going to go into these various departments where they can become a unionized worker and, make benefits and a reasonable wage. So that's one thing that I really, really would like to see happening and especially bringing in underprivileged people into this career. I've worked with nonprofits that incorporate people who have lived in generational poverty, incorporating them into entertainment jobs, and they won't even recommend them to go into the sustainability because there's no union for it, and they don't want them to stay in the cycle of poverty. That's not the point, right? So I can't get kind of diverse backgrounds to come work for me, which is also very frustrating, because it's not an equal opportunity anymore. So that is something to certainly be discussed. I really don't have an answer to how to balance this career and also, plan for a future or have a comfortable lifestyle. It's just as it is right now. It's just not.
Mm-hmm. I really hope that it gets better in the future. I feel like we are slowly moving that way, but so thank you so much for sharing that and for giving your honest insight and all your knowledge. Thank you so much for joining us, Lena, and all our attendees.